Hey, Rasmanites, how you doing? Well, today we are going to start a new series here on the Rasman's Reality. Now, some of you may recall that I tried to do this with my baseball team, the Cincinnati Reds, in the beginning of the season, and I realized that kind of extensive baseball coverage doesn't really work because there are 162 games in a season, and you play 4 out of the 5 days a week, if not more. And by the time you get a video shot for the week, you end up forgetting what game you just saw. And so the way that I was doing it was I was trying to record after every game was over. Well, then when the team is on the West Coast like they are now, that becomes so problematic because you have to actually record the game and view it the next morning, and you're usually under time constraints, so you can't actually watch the full game. You're just sort of skimming through it. So yeah, the baseball idea for this really didn't work. I will cover the Reds again in a different way. I still haven't figured out how I'm going to do it. But especially if they make the playoffs, you will hear more Reds coverage from me. But my original concept for the Reds can definitely work for my Cincinnati Bengals. And yes, I know I'm a little bit mismatched, but unfortunately all my Bengals gear is in the wash. That tends to happen when you have all your gear ready for game day. You kind of suffer when it comes to filming day. But as I was saying, my original concept of doing a State of the Union address for my team, for the Reds, will actually work really well for the Bengals because it's one game per week. Now, I wasn't able to film in time for the Hall of Fame game a week ago. So this first edition will actually cover preseasons week 1 and 2. So, welcome to the State of the Cincinnati Bengals address, preseason 2010, weeks 1 and 2. Today, on the Rasman's Reality. Alrighty, so first week there wasn't a lot to talk about. The game against the Cowboys, the Hall of Fame game, the Bengals and Cowboys, the two teams in the NFL this year that have 5 preseason games because they didn't meet in the Hall of Fame exhibition game on NBC. And the Bengals came up on the short end of this one. And like I said, there's not really much to talk about in this game because the starters only played one series. And when the starters only play one series, you really can't evaluate where your team is going to be because most of the game you're looking at guys that are just trying to fight for 5 or 6 spots during the regular season, and you're likely to get beat down, which is what happened to the Bengals. Not discounting anything that the Dallas Cowboys did in that game, because the Cowboys played their hearts out and they showed that they're definitely among the favorites in the NFC if they continue to play the way they played in the first week of preseason. But as far as evaluating the Bengals, which is what we're here to do with this series, there's not really much I can do with that Bengals game except to say that T.O. did catch a few balls and he looks like he's going to be a good mesh with Carson Palmer. Now we can move on to week 2, which happened on this past Sunday, and that of course was against the Denver Broncos. Everyone else is week 1, and there we got a 34-23 victory. So, in this game, there's a lot more to talk about. Not just because we're on the winning side of the scoreboard, so we got to see more action from the Bengals, but because the starters actually played 2 series in this one, and the offense was just on fire. We saw a great game from Carson Palmer, from Terrell Owens, from the off-season draft acquisitions, the former Texas Longhorn Jordan Shipley, and the former Oklahoma Sooner tight end Jermaine Gresham. So those 2 guys are really going to strengthen the passing game, especially Jermaine Gresham, because anyone that follows the NFL knows that a key to success in the passing game is to have a tight end that not only can block, but can be a big, huge threat in the passing game. The Bengals have been trying to get there for years with Ben Utet, who unfortunately suffered a career-ending injury. And then you had Chase Kaufman, drafted last year, and he suffered some injury problems and just didn't live up to his potential. But Jermaine Gresham looked like he belonged in the NFL last year with the Sooners, and he absolutely picked that up in this game against the Denver Broncos, and just was the main highlight for sure. The other highlight came from, as I said, on the passing side of the ball, Texas wide receiver Jordan Shipley. Jordan Shipley and Colt McCoy, when they were in Texas, hooked up for the majority of Texas's touchdown passes. It doesn't look like Jordan Shipley is having much trouble adjusting to the NFL at all, and that's huge because Antonio Bryant, who was a big off-season acquisition for the Bengals, has been hurt. So it looks as though Shipley may actually get that third wide receiver spot behind Ocho Cinco and Owens. And if he does, he showed that he can handle it. So we'll wait and see how the season progresses. The other big performance in the Broncos game came from backup running back Bernard Scott, who ran really, really well. Cedric Benson didn't get a lot of touches in the Broncos game, but the touches he did get, he looked well. And then the young man who is 4th or 5th on our depth chart behind Brian Leonard, who got a lot of touches because of Leonard's injury. I forget his name at this point, but it's right there on your screen and overlay. He looked really good as well. He's a guy that got a shot with us once before and is getting a shot again due to Leonard's injury, and we don't know how severe that injury is going to be. So the more weapons this offense has, the more excited that Bengals Nation, the jungle of course, is. And the thing about it, where the Bengals struggled last year, why they lost to the Jets in the playoffs, was because they focused 100% on Cedric Benson and the ground game. Now with all these wide receiver weapons, it's going to give defenses headaches. Defenses aren't going to know who to cover when, and there's always going to be somebody open, and that combined with Cedric Benson on the ground, and as good as he was last year, we are by far going to be one of the most dangerous offenses in the AFC, if not the entire National Football League. Now, granted, it's only preseason. Anything can happen, especially with the Bengals winning the division last year. We have a very, very tough schedule, but these first 2 preseason games, in particular, this last one in week 2 against the Broncos, really gave me some stuff to look forward to, and I'm sure all of the jungle agrees with me. So with that, I hope you Rasmanites enjoyed this series. Any new viewers that I got from this video, I hope that you stick around, especially if you're a Bengals fan, because we gotta stick together. And I will see you guys and gals for the next episode. This is reality according to the Razman. And Razman style is not just a catchphrase, but a way of life.